Are you a business owner who suffers from the disease called Heroitis? Do you have a manager in your business who suffers from the same Heroitis disease? Kevin Ware, your Action Business Coach. And let me tell you what is Heroitis. Heroitis is not a real disease. It's something I made up. But here's the thing is that Heroitis are managers who love to be the hero for their employees. They're the ones who swoop in and save the day. And you give them adulations and these employees go, "Oh, thank you so much. You're my hero." And it feels really good. And then you constantly swoop in to fix people's mistakes, to save the day, to go, "Look at me, I'm the superhero who flies in and solve all the problems." And it feels great to be the superhero. And it's one of the worst things you can do as a manager. So, why is that so important? Because you as a manager and a business owner need to help your people think for themselves. They'll never think for themselves if you're the hero. So, let's cover 3 things that would indicate that you have Heroitis. Number 1, you fix all of your employees' mistakes and issues. When they do an error, when they make a mistake on the production line, when they don't serve a customer quite right, you fix the mistake. You go in there, make the change or whatever, and guess what? It's all fixed. Woohoo! But what happens next time? You fix the same mistake again and again and again. Yeah, you see where this is going? So what's the second thing that indicates you have the Heroitis disease? You cover up for your employees' bad behaviors and attitudes. Well, you know what? I hear this sometimes from business owners. It's hard to find employees. I'm not just going to fire people willy-nilly. That's fine and I understand, but guess what? You have to basically deal with their issues. If you cover up for them, for their absenteeism, for their bad attitudes, and make excuses for them, you're going to get more of the same over and over again. When somebody shows up 5 minutes late and you say nothing, they'll show up 10 minutes late. And if you say nothing again, it gets longer and longer and longer. And guess what? Everybody else in your business sees that. So that's a huge indicator that you have Heroitis disease, that you're covering up for people's bad behaviors. And then number 3 indicator that you have Heroitis disease is that when somebody asks you a question, you always give them the answer. When they ask, "Hey, how do I do XXX?" you go, "Do Y. And they go, "Oh, thank you." And they always come to you to ask questions since you're the answer person. What's the problem with that? I will bet you about 90% of the times the answer is contained somewhere in some form of systems that you may have developed or other employees that may have the answer. Why do you have to be the answer person for everything? So now, how do we deal with the disease called Heroitis? Well, the first thing and the first fix we need to do in curing your Heroitis disease is that you need to let them learn from their mistakes. Now, I am not saying that allow them to make mistakes that may have a major impact in the business. No, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is sometimes you have to allow them to go through a scenario where you know they're going to make a mistake. They make the mistake. They come back and you ask them, what did they learn from that mistake and what will they do next time to make sure the mistake doesn't happen? Too many times, if we fix their mistakes for them all the time, there's no real learning. Learning comes from experience, and sometimes experience is not fun. But you have to let them make the mistake and learn from those mistakes. Now, what's fix number 2? You have to hold your team members accountable for their actions and behaviors. You have to confront and deal with those issues, whether it be attitudes, whether it be conduct, whether it be timeliness, or whatever. Your job as a manager is to deal with that issue in such a way that you're paying attention, can be understanding of their issues, but you also have to help them meet the standard. Always, one of my favorite phrases I like to use is that the standard is the standard. The standard doesn't change. How you meet the standard can be flexible, innovative, and creative, but the standard doesn't change. And so you have to help those employees figure out, how can I meet the standard? Not just allow the standard to be walked over because it's uncomfortable for you to deal with that issue with that employee. And then the third fix to this is guide them to a solution without giving them an answer. You can't be the answer person for every employee's question. You have to allow them to think for themselves. I'll give you a good example. Let's say an employee comes and says, hey, how do I do X, 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 X? And your job is to say, well, where would you find the answer? And their response is, I don't know. And your question is, have you looked in blank yet? No. Well, go look there. Or, hey, how do I do ... And you go, hey, who else would know this answer? Well, I don't have time to look for people. Yeah, you do. There are other people on your team that have resources. You can't be the encyclopedia for everything. Now, if there is no system, make sure it's written down into a system process so they can reference that in the future. But you have to be able to get your employees to think for themselves. They need to understand when you finally start asking them where else would the answers be. Well, what do you think the answer would be? You have to get them to come to a solution on their own without you being that answer person. So, if you've got Heroitis disease, you need to learn to be a better manager. What's the way to learn to be a better manager? We've got a 12-week 12-week management program. And so if you're interested in either yourself as a business owner or one of your managers or both of you to go through this 12-week management training program, go ahead and click below. Schedule like a 15-minute call with me. We'll chat. We'll talk about your management situations. And we're going to see if some form of training is something that would work for you and your management team. Go out there. Stop being a hero. Let them figure things out. And I will see you on the flip side.